A security deposit is money held to protect the landlord against specific losses. Consider it is usually paid before moving in. The hidden part is that the deposit is separate from regular rent. The outcome is often that its purpose is to cover unpaid obligations or damage allowed under the lease and local rules. The deposit is not a bonus for the landlord. The pattern shows up when it should be returned if the tenant meets obligations and leaves the property in acceptable condition. The moving force is that conflict happens when either side treats the money casually. The risk is that clear records matter from the beginning. Move-in documentation is essential. In a daily situation, photos of walls, floors, appliances, keys, meters, and existing stains create evidence. The link is that without proof, old damage may be blamed on the tenant. Once that link matters, a detailed condition checklist is worth the effort. Normal wear and tear should be separated from damage. The clearest example is light carpet wear differs from a burn mark or broken fixture. The explanation starts with normal living causes gradual aging. The consequence is deductions should relate to damage beyond ordinary use. Unpaid rent can often be deducted. For example, if a tenant leaves owing money, the deposit may cover part of it. The reason is that this does not always erase the full debt. That can mean large unpaid balances can still create further claims. Cleaning standards should be realistic and written. In real life, a property should be returned reasonably clean, not necessarily brand new. The pressure comes from this. Leases sometimes specify cleaning expectations. The result can be unclear standards create arguments after move out. Pet damage can affect the deposit. Think of scratched doors, odors, stained flooring, or damaged landscaping may lead to deductions. The process works because pet permission does not mean unlimited damage is accepted. Over time, photos help distinguish normal use from repairable harm. Landlords may have deadlines for returning deposits. A simple case is this. Many places require return or itemized deductions within a set period. The important driver is that missing the deadline can create legal problems for the landlord. That is why tenants should know the rule before moving out. Itemized deductions protect fairness. You might see it when a statement showing repair cost, cleaning charge, or unpaid rent is clearer than a vague reduction. What matters underneath is that specific deductions are easier to challenge or accept. If it is ignored, transparency reduces conflict. Tenants should give a forwarding address. One ordinary version is without updated contact details. Deposit return can be delayed. The mechanism is that communication matters after move out. The practical effect is a simple written message can prevent confusion. Pre-move out walkthroughs can help. Consider a tenant may fix small issues before the final inspection. The hidden part is that early feedback reduces surprise deductions. The outcome is often that not every landlord offers this, but asking can be useful. Receipts and invoices matter. The pattern shows up when a deduction for repair should connect to an actual cost. The moving force is that landlords should avoid guessing inflated numbers. The risk is that tenants can request support when a charge seems unreasonable. Deposit rules vary by location. In a daily situation, some areas limit deposit size or require special handling. The link is that interest requirements may also exist. Once that link matters, general education is helpful, but local law decides exact rights. A deposit should not replace last month's rent unless allowed. The clearest example is using it as rent can violate the lease. The explanation starts with the landlord may still treat rent as unpaid. The consequence is tenants should get written approval before making that assumption. Roommates complicate deposits. For example, one person's damage or unpaid rent can affect the whole deposit. The reason is that shared responsibility should be discussed before moving in. That can mean private roommate agreements can reduce later resentment. Renovation is not the tenant's responsibility. In real life, A landlord should not charge a tenant for upgrading old items beyond the damage caused. The pressure comes from this. Deductions should usually reflect repair, not improvement. The result can be age and condition matter. Disputes should stay documented. Think of emails, photos, lease clauses, inspection reports, and receipts are stronger than angry calls. The process works because written evidence makes the issue easier to resolve. Over time, calm records beat emotional arguments. The deposit is easiest to protect before moving in. A simple case is this. The tenant should document condition, understand rules, and keep payment receipts. The important driver is that waiting until move out is too late to create missing evidence. That is why prevention is cheaper than dispute. Landlords protect themselves with the same discipline. You might see it when clear checklists, fair deductions, and prompt returns build trust. What matters underneath is that a deposit process that feels arbitrary damages reputation. If it is ignored, professional handling benefits both sides. Security deposits becomes clearer when it is tested in ordinary life. Take wall damage after move out. The point is visible in wall damage after move out. The choice changes because security deposits changes the pressure around the decision. What matters is the real consequence for the people involved, not just the clean definition of security deposits. When the example is concrete, security deposits stops sounding abstract and starts looking like something people deal with in real conversations, bills, deadlines, and relationships. Another useful angle is unpaid rent deduction. A photo checklist before move-in shows how one background condition can change the outcome before anyone calls it a big event. For security deposits, the hidden force is proof. What condition the home was in before and after the tenancy. Once proof is organized, the deposit becomes easier to defend from unfair deductions. Security deposits make sense when the move-in condition, written records, repair evidence, and return deadline are all tracked from the start. A shallow reading treats the deposit as gone money and misses the tenant's right to valid accounting. In the case of photo checklist before move-in, the final result may look simple from the outside, but the pressure was already building before anyone noticed it. Better judgment starts with photos, checklists, receipts, and written move-out records. A practical example is normal wear versus damage. The practical point is not to memorize a slogan about security deposits. The practical point is to protect the deposit before damage becomes an argument. That contrast explains why move-in photos can matter months after they are taken. Most confusion around security deposits comes from missing that hidden exchange and focusing only on the surface event. A security deposit is protection for the landlord, but it is still the tenant's money unless valid deductions are proven. A final example, deadline for returning deposit, shows why this matters before the outcome becomes expensive, stressful, or emotionally charged. The strongest takeaway is to document the home before the deposit becomes a disagreement. The practical point is to protect the deposit before damage becomes an argument. Once those parts are visible, security deposits becomes less mysterious and much easier to handle in daily life. Photographs, dated notes, and written move-out communication give both sides a cleaner record if there is disagreement.